Hello, coaches! Welcome back to another episode of Coach Better Spotlight. Today, we're sharing a very special bonus episode inspired by a question on our Facebook page. This is a roundtable discussion featuring educators working in international schools in the Asia region. It's a big group, so I won't list all the names here, but we have teachers, coaches, school leaders, and teacher parents chatting about how schools are handling extended closures due to the coronavirus outbreak. We talked about everything from logistics and the structure to online learning to the community and mental health aspect of dealing with long-term closures. Today's Spotlight focuses on the different approaches that schools are taking to ensure learning continues online while schools are closed. We're already planning a follow-up, so don't miss this first installment reflecting on the state of online learning in Asia international schools. To hear the rest of this fascinating conversation, catch the full episode wherever you get your podcasts. If you enjoy any part of this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more conversations like this, please subscribe to our channel and click the notifications bell to find out every time we release a new episode. Remember, you can also listen to the full Coach Better episode wherever you get your podcasts. We are passionate about the impact coaching can have on student learning, school culture, and teacher professional growth, and we want to help you coach better. We've got some great opportunities for more learning after today's conversation, so stick around all the way to the end. All right, welcome back to another episode of the Coach Better podcast. Today, I am super excited because we're having a totally impromptu conversation, which was actually prompted by a great comment in a Facebook group on one of our videos that we should all get together and kind of share what's going on in our various schools in the Asia region, reacting to the situation that we're faced with right now with the coronavirus outbreak in China. So I tried to gather as many voices as I could from all around the Asia region to share what's happening, not just in your individual school, but what's happening kind of in the area that you know about, because we all have connections from different schools all over the place. There are lots of new faces here today, so I want to make sure that everyone has a chance to introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about where they teach, what they teach, and anything else you might want to share with us. And I will start just by asking everyone to introduce themselves, and I'll start by asking Jeff, because you're first in my list of people. Jeff, will you please introduce yourself?
I'm Jeff Lehman. I teach middle school design at the International School in Beijing.
Awesome. And I'll get Davey next.
Hi, I'm Davey Neal. I teach 5th grade at the Shanghai American School in Pudong.
Thank you. And Ben?
Shanghai.
Hi, Ben Sheridan. I'm a learning innovation coach at NIST International School in Bangkok, Thailand.
Thank you. And Annalie?
I'm Annalie Higginbottom. I am the K-12 Technology Coordinator at Shanghai American School's Pudong campus. I also am a 6-12 tech coach, and I'm calling from Manchester in the north of England.
Oh, thank you. I didn't even realize you were not in China right now. Awesome. Thank you so much. Diana, also not in China, but normally based in China. Will you please introduce yourself?
Right. Hi, I'm Diana Biabat. I'm an innovation coach at the American International School of Guangzhou in China, but I am currently in New Zealand.
Awesome. And then I've got Julie next on my list.
Hi, I'm Julie Lemley. I'm a program leader at the International School, and I am in Beijing.
Thank you, Julie. And Tim?
Hi, I'm Tim Bray. I am the Director of Educational Technology at Chungnam Dalton School in Incheon, South Korea.
Thank you so much. And last but not least, Angela.
I am Angela Langlands. Sorry. And I was a long-term sub at WAB in Beijing, but the day of the closure, I was moved into 4th grade. So I have just started online teaching 4th grade today.
Oh my goodness. That's got to be a whole interesting way to get to know your class.
Very, very interesting. Yes.
Okay. I'm excited to hear more about that. Before we get into everybody's individual situations, All right, let's hear from some of the other people whose schools are actually closed and what your structures are in place in terms of actual student learning, the structure, or what the experience will be like for them.
We've gone with, at the moment, we're on a completely asynchronous plan because the closure came after everybody had already departed for the vacation and so many people are out of Shanghai. We had some initial conversations around using tools like Zoom for teachers to do kind of live broadcasts, and the initial decision, and that could change depending on how long we're out for, is that we're staying asynchronous. So as Davey said, in our elementary school, that looks like Seesaw for the most part. We have an LMS, we use Schoology, and so our elementary teachers are still expected to kind of make a post in there. But the student learning, I think, and Davey can speak to this in more detail, is really focused on Seesaw. In our 6 through 12, we're following our day rotation. So this is, our teachers are expected to post learning targets for every period. And students are expected to respond to the assignments, respond to the discussion boards. And we have additional tools built in place that are going to help our teachers, our counselors, and our administrators to monitor that that's happening. And one of the things that is really being emphasized, particularly with our middle and high school, is that if a student isn't showing up, if they're not completing tasks, this is not you let somebody higher up the food chain know as quickly and as soon as possible so that that contact can be made with parents and with those students. And I think this is part of the learning. We've had a couple of kind of impromptu closures that we've known about in advance for the Shanghai exhibition, where all the schools in Shanghai have had to close for a couple of days. And so this has been kind of one of the most important learnings from that, is that when our students don't show up, that then becomes demotivating, demoralizing for our teachers. And so really pushing out those expectations to parents and to students really early, making sure that those learning experiences are valuable and relevant, are something that continues to be emphasized by our administrators, by our leadership, and by everybody else.
Awesome. Anybody else in the area, like China area, where schools are actually closed, want to share their kind of structure for how school will close, or how school?
So
is?
for us,
Go ahead, Diana.
So for us, this again evolved all over in the middle of our break, and so the learning leaders, curriculum leadership put together a parameters, a document to really lay out divisionally and different roles and expectations and things like that. It's similar to what Ben was saying. It's that we're providing the learning opportunities for students so that we can show that we are still attempting to provide the education, because we do have to meet certain requirements by the government, by our accreditation. We're also, we have a diploma program, international baccalaureate program. We've been in contact with them, are aware of the situation as far as students who have requirements to meet. Our seniors, the high school principal has been assuring them we are going to do everything we, keep things on track. So I think there's a very extensive, again, it's probably going to be adjusted over time, but very clear expectations of the teachers. We use the Microsoft platform, so already our secondary was familiar with using Teams, and many teachers also use OneNote. So we have things in place. Some teachers are very experienced with it. Others might need some additional help or ways to do that. So we're scattered. Teachers, parents, students, administrators, we're scattered all over the place. So it's going to be, like Annalie said, it's going to be asynchronous. Everyone's in different time zones. We're offering learning, and if students aren't interacting, then people will be notified that type of thing. So it's really great. This is a really stressful time for everyone, and we're all spread out, but we're already seeing we have different WeChat groups set up. Teachers are helping each other. We're there to support. Things are coming up, and people are very motivated. We also have a spreadsheet for secondary where the teachers are putting just their basic things that they're assigning, so we can see a bigger picture of what's happening. And I was looking at that earlier. and teachers have stuff ready. They're communicating with their kids. Also, as someone, I can't remember who, someone mentioned, this is a little trickier with the lower grades, but we'll do the best that we can, and the teachers they're really awesome. And I think it's really we'll pull it together.
Awesome. What about Jeff? You were just about to share, right?
Yeah, ISB's mantra from the get-go has been that of patience and flexibility, both to teachers as we plan and get things ready for our students, the emails out to parents and students and our everyone else has been like, we're all figuring this out together. We all need to give each other a lot of leeway. And I think the reception has been really positive from everything that I've heard. Like Julie said, a lot of our students were really excited to come back to school today. I think a lot of our students stayed in Beijing and are here. And I think they're a little bored and they're happy to go back to school. I've been contacted by parents and students who are not in Beijing, who are very worried about making sure that their attendance is counted and things like that. But as far as student learning goes, I think everybody's got a really open mind towards it. And right now, a really great attitude towards it too. In the middle school, we're going to use mostly like our homebrew LMS. We call it Dragons Exchange. It's kind of a custom one. I think our elementary school is primarily using Seesaw as well. And then our high school's on DX too.
And what's the expectation in terms of, are you asynchronous similar to SAS and Guangzhou, or is there any sort of real-time expectation?
So kind of a bit of both, actually. So teachers are asked to hold office hours from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Beijing time. And during that 3-hour block, like I just need to be available for students. I need to be on my laptop responding via email on DX, preferably as quick as I can, not just letting something kind of fall. That's my time that I'm in front of a screen responding to student questions. Students can access their learning whenever they want. I haven't seen anything that requires them to do anything at a certain time. But they know that for those 3 hours, they can get a hold of their teacher if they need it. They can ask questions. And I'm sure as we kind of grow into this new form of learning, I'm sure teachers will innovate all sorts of awesome ways to help their kids.
Awesome. I'm going to ask Angela if she has anything else to add, if it's any different, and then I will finally get Brandon to share a little bit about what's going on in Manila.
So we're slightly different. Our office hours are an actual school day. So it's really tricky for those people, especially those who went to Europe. They're in the middle of the night, waking up between 8:30 and 3:30 for this week only. High school, it's great for us to be in Beijing because my high school kids are just doing a regular school day and I'm keeping them super organized and I don't have to deal with it much. But they do have teachers who are out. And the teacher has just responded with, I'm just catching some Z's. I will get back to you in the next couple hours. So the push from their instructors was really early. Most of the high school teachers sent out information from the very beginning saying, here's where I am. Here's my time zone issue. I'm trying my best. We're going to figure it out. And the school has been really supportive of that, though we have told parents, teachers will be available during the normal school day. And then we will reevaluate it this week to see what happens for next week moving forward. Because it's just not a long-term plan. I really like the office hour. But if that's the middle of the night, and that is for our family, that's why we stayed. We didn't think that was an option for us to go home to Europe and be up in the middle of the night in a small apartment. So we're doing that for this week. But it's not working so well for the little kids. A lot of the contact has been via email from parents, like, how am I going to keep my kid busy during these hours? And there's lots of things, lots of activities. We've opened up all of our platforms. But the parents are already getting a little stir crazy. They've had their kids at home for a whole week or they've been in transit and they've had a really rough week to begin with during the Chinese New Year. And now they've got a kid all day at home, and they have to do their job as well. We have a lot of families who were taken out of the country. So you've got parents remotely working. You've got trying to get your first grader to do a project with school. And so a lot of families are just asking for support right now. And so we're trying lots of different ideas to offer all kinds of support, including all the counseling things that have been offered to the school. So I know I went to a lot of different things, but I think it's just everybody's just trying to figure it out. We don't know how long it's going to go, what we're going to do, and what's going to work and not work.
It's so interesting to see how different it's going to be for families who have younger kids versus older kids. I mean, that's obvious, right? Like you don't need to say it, but it's kind of worth saying, because when you think about a lot of blended learning or online learning experiences, it's for kids who are a bit older and can self-monitor and self-moderate. Maybe they're not going to be, perfectly on task all the time, but generally speaking, we can kind of let them be independent. But then you're talking about kindergartners and first graders, and honestly, even up to upper elementary. I mean, that's rough all day, every day, alone, or maybe not alone, but just in your house without your peers, trying to stay focused, and parents not necessarily having the education background to be able to take whatever is being delivered and shared and then apply it in a setting that makes sense for them.
So the one big thing we've been working on this year at WAB is a mentoring program from the early babies all the way to the big kids. And the mentoring looks very different from early childhood through grade 12. But one of the big pushes for this online learning was you have to reach with your mentor group somehow, however you're going to do it. So we had colleagues today doing Zoom sessions with their students and took pictures of 10 kids who showed up at that time. But at some point, face-to-face conversations with your kids, because they're lonely, they're a little bit scared, and they need that face-to-face time. And then the kids are getting excited because you can see them in the WeChats for my kids going, well, let's do our own Zoom. Let's WeChat, let's Skype, let's do all these things so they can connect with their buddies who are around the world.
Yeah, my son was Zooming with his friends this weekend, and we're not even close, but they got Zoom on the computer. So but the air quality's been bad and no one wants to go outside, right? So he was sitting around Zooming with his buddies.
Well, just to follow up with what Emily said, yes, the last few days have been really busy, just trying to coordinate digitally with people who are scattered all over Asia Pacific, and this is really one of those times where Seesaw we're getting a lot of value out of Seesaw, probably more than we ever have, and we've been using it as a platform as a school for I think 3 or 4 years now, but now it's really become really like the anchor of our learning support or distance learning for what seems to be at least the next month. So it's been a ride, to say the least.
So for us, elementary school is going to pretty much go with Seesaw, and then several of my teachers really love Flipgrid, so I'm sure they'll work Flipgrid in on there. And then for middle school, high school, Google Classroom will be the main conduit for like getting information back and forth to people. But a lot of the teachers will also like upload any lectures they might want to do with YouTube or with Google Drive and send it out to kids through the classroom. And then the last thing we've talked about with some of the teachers, because some of the English teachers and social studies teachers really value having discussion. And so we've talked about how to use Meet or how to use Hangout as a way to get students in and maybe divide up a 7-minute period into 2 sections. So you'd have 2 different discussions with smaller groups. And so those are some things we've kind of talked about. We've, of course, contacted all the families and told them where we're at. We have a plan, those things in place, because our parents are a little bit helicopterish and get freaked out. So at least the herd's been quieted for the moment.
Awesome, thanks. Ben, you want to share a little bit about what's going on at NIST?
Sure. I love that, little Tim. The herd has been quieted for the moment. It cracks me up. I guess we have like we're kind of in a similar situation as Tim. I guess we are open. We do have a lot of cases of influenza A, where actually we've shut down 2 classes at the end of last week because so many kids were sick. And some other classes have like 7 kids out. and some staff members too. So we're sending them home for a week. But we kind of had the benefit of seeing this ahead of not being in China, but seeing that this might come. So we went into like full on prep mode last week, hardcore, and started putting stuff into place. And so we are sort of in limbo, and we might close, we might not close. We sort of have an idea of how we're going to approach it, and we have like the gift of time. So we're actually running tests like this week. Secondary is going to run a full online day on Wednesday just to see actually how it goes. And so we're looking at like running. So we basically got everybody on Zoom, the entire secondary school, teachers and students. Some kids are, or some classes are running little test classes right now. And, you know, you find out little things like one kid, as a joke, he took a screenshot of himself sitting like this at his computer and then left. So it looks like he's actually in class, but he's totally not. But he came clean about it, just as sort of like a funny thing, which I thought was pretty ingenious. But classes will be scheduled at the same time. You need to show up. You can't be in your bed. You got to be sitting at a table. You have to be in appropriate, dress. You got to ask to go to the bathroom, these sorts of things. So I don't know how realistic that is. We'll see. And like Davey mentioned in elementary, we are pretty solid with Seesaw. This year, this is our third year, and we have developed some pretty tight expectations around Seesaw. And I felt we did this at the beginning actually to sort of protect ourselves from unrealistic expectations by families around what Seesaw was and what it wasn't. So I think we did a really good job of delineating what goes where and how much and by whom and who the audience is for, etc. So we're really sort of leaning on that, and then sort of developing some additional expectations around specific times, and then beefing that up a little bit so that it acts more as a conduit, rather than just like a place to capture.
All right, Brandon, tell us about ISM.
So sorry I was a little bit late, and I'm not up to speed with the first 10 minutes of this, but basically, Philippines had kind of a rough start to 2020, the Taal volcano. So with the volcano, we already had a little bit of a plan in place because we had 2 days off already. But I would say that right now we are watching carefully. Obviously, the Philippines itself is kind of unique in that we have a lot of tourists that come through here. And we are kind of watching, what's happening in Vietnam and Thailand, especially, as well as East Asia. Currently, we have a few students out just as a precaution, and we have some plans in place. I do think that at this point in time, the plans are they're flexible, right? And so we'll have to kind of see how things go, because it's a bit more of a short-term plan, asynchronous for the most part. However, the expectation would be that the teachers are available throughout the day. Currently, we use Seesaw for the ES primarily, and then Google Classroom for the rest. And so teachers are expected to check their email throughout the day, be posting regularly. I guess one concern I have as a parent, and seeing on the flip side, is that sometimes it can bunch up, and it can actually be more work than you would normally see during the school day. So I think that's something to be cognizant of, is kind of making sure that there's a balance for the students as well.
So basically, we've heard essentially, I would say, like 3 kind of models. One that is hardcore, asynchronous, we're not going to worry about timing. There's going to be learning targets, and there's expectations that everyone is showing up, and I love that phrasing. Then we've got this other model that is a combo of asynchronous learning and then some real-time office hours. And then, although it isn't actually being implemented yet at NIST, we don't know how it's going to work or not, we've got that kind of real-time, you must be here at this moment in time.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation, and there is so much more on the audio version. Don't miss subscribing to our podcast on any of your podcast subscribers under Coach Better. And if this conversation is interesting to you, you would probably be interested in the Coach Microcredential. Early bird registration is open now, and I'm going to share a little bit about why I think that might be right for you in just a sec. Did you enjoy today's episode? Then you will love the Coach Microcredential program. We know because our current participants are always sharing their feedback with us, and we ask them to share their experiences with you. Each week, we'll be sharing a new voice from inside the cohort of the coach so you can get a participant's perspective on what will make the program just right for you.
If you are in one of those transitionary phases in your career, or you are a teacher and you're just kind of looking to develop your practice, or if you're a coach who is new to that position or just trying to develop yourself as a professional, this is a wonderful course to take because you can tailor it to fit your needs, your role within your school. I love this small cohort size. One of my greatest takeaways is the feeling that we're not alone. I think often in these positions, especially if you're an international educator, you're often the only one who does this role within your school. And it's really nice to know that there are lots of others out there who are going through the same thing. I really like how the program can be tailored to fit your need. And I really see that the biggest priority on Eduro Learning's end is to maximize what we get out of the course. So if it's not necessarily relevant at this time where you are, well, then let's change it so that it can work for you. It's a wonderful program. If I were to give any piece of advice or message to future cohort members, it is to take the course. If you are on the fence, please take it.
This is just one of the voices from our current The Coach cohort. Here's what a few others have to say.
So I'd highly recommend it. I would definitely suggest you try and join to really help you develop your professional coaching skills.
So I highly recommend it.
So do it.
I'd really advise anyone interested in taking the coach to take the plunge and go for it.
So I say go for it. Definitely take the coach. I couldn't recommend it more.
But overall, this course is fantastic because it's made me feel awesome. It's made me feel excited for my future.
As you can see, this micro-credential is for all educators, not just coaches, because you develop the coaching skills you can use in all aspects of your practice. You don't have to be a coach to have a coaching conversation with a student, a fellow colleague, a school leader, or even a parent. When you're ready to learn more about the coach, click on the link below or reach out to us at Eduro Learning on any of our social media platforms. Registration for our next cohort opens soon. Don't miss it. Expand your professional learning network, dive deep into 26 weeks of curated coaching content, and get your own private mentor for an entire academic year. We can't wait to work with you. Are you ready to take your coaching skills to the next level? Join the next cohort of The Coach and make it happen.